Hello friends, and welcome to The Hanged Man in the Moon. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you are a returning visitor, you know that this is my Back to Basics mini-series within the larger context of my deep dive into the Thoth Tarot. The tarot created by Lady Frida Harris and Harris-Crowley. And I have a small spread all laid out for us, but before I get to it, I'd like us to consider what stands in our way. What prevents us from living our lives as intentionally as we want? For the most part, most of the time, the obstacles that we have to living an intentional life are self-imposed. They're caused by inner conflict. I want this, but I don't think I'm good enough for it. I think that would be wonderful, but I don't think it's available for me. The conflict within ourselves is the source of almost all of the blockage to our progress and our evolution in living an intentional life. Yes, there are times when actual things seem to come up and stand in our way. But those things are not as long-lasting as we make them. And some of them are actually there to help us move in the direction that will better suit us if we allow ourselves the fluidity, the malleability to move around those things which seem to be popping up and stopping us, or changing our course, or making things difficult for us. This week's Tarot and Oracle spread is going to be pointing towards our inner conflict, I believe, and maybe giving us some advice. So here we're ready to go, I think. What am I going to do? First, I'll show you the whole spread. We'll talk about it a little bit. And then I'll break it into its two major sections and we'll read the cards together. Are you all ready? Here we go. So you saw we had a 3-card spread for the Thoth Tarot. And the positions for those spreads, if you don't already know, are significance, challenge, advice. So the significance, what is the significant answer to the question, how can we live our lives more intentionally in the next period of time? And then the next card, the challenge, is either positive or negative. Now, a positive challenge, something we could reach for, something we can strive to attain, or a challenge as in an obstacle. And then the third card is advice. And then the 2 cards below were from an oracle deck called the Oracle of the Radiant Sun. And it's a beautiful astrologically based deck, and I highly recommend it. And there will be a link in the description box below if you want to go grab one yourself. I think it's very useful. And those 2 cards will give us either advice or a recapitulation of the spread. Let me say a little bit about the Thoth deck on the top, because this is a new deck to my library. It's a deck that I tracked down because it has the 3 Maguses. I don't know if you know this, but the original deck drawn by Lady Frida Harris had 3 different images for the Magus. The one that we're all used to, plus 2 very interesting images that I like. And so I got this deck. It's actually rather small. It's much larger than the larger Thoth deck that most of us are using. But I like having those 3 cards in there, and I use all 3 in the deck when I shuffle it. You might notice that the images are a little bit more on the pastel side. When we talk about coloration for the Thoth Tarot, my favorite is always the greeny. Yeah, the deck that has borders that kind of look greenish, and it's that overall greenish hue that gives more intensity to the overall color of that deck. So for color of deck, I prefer the greeny, and I finally got one, but I'm not using that now. This deck I'm using because it has the 3 Maguses, and it's also sturdy, and I'm not worried about damaging it. So, friends, that's about the decks. I don't think I can put a link to the the deck that I have now. I think I got it off of eBay. But I'll have a link to a very similar Thoth deck in the description box if you want to grab yourself one of those, okay? One of the smaller decks, the travel size. So friends, we're all ready. You saw the spread. Let's take a look at the 3 cards on the top and dive into those together. Here they are. The 3 cards that we have from left to right are, very interestingly, the Knight of Cups, then we had the Two of Discs, and then the Princess of Cups. Yeah, a very watery, actually, the previous spread that I did with this Back to Basics series, and this one had both were entirely receptive elements, water and earth, right? So we have another combination of water and earth this time. And we start off with the Knight of Cups. And the Knight of Cups, I think it's a beautiful image. Let me show you him right now. We have this beautiful knight holding the cup with a crab, and that crab honestly confuses me every time. Because I see that crab in the cup and I think, Cancer, but this card is not associated with Cancer. This card is associated with Pisces. And you see at the bottom, can you see that? It's very difficult to see, but here where my finger is, there is a peacock. Yeah, and the crab is here to symbolize aggressiveness, and the swan is there to symbolize pride and pride. Let's go with pride. And the card again is associated with Pisces, which is the domicile of Jupiter, from which mutable water's vital attributes enter our spread. We have mutable water, yeah? Pisces, it cleans up actually the entirety of the zodiacal wheel before moving again into Aries, the beginning of the new cycle of the zodiac, right? It's a watery sign. It's the cleanup and get ready to move on. It's also deep. It's expansive. And with Jupiter in there, we have a greater expansion of the water, which is challenging for this card because the knights are associated with fire. So here we have the Knight of Cups, fire of water. And those two are in conflict. They're ill-dignified elements. Crowley also associates all of the court cards with hexagrams from the I Ching. And this card is associated with hexagram 54, which is Kwe Mei. Don't quote my pronunciation of that. But it's thunder over lake. And you think thunder over lake, well, it sounds a little bit aggressive, but it should be fine. However, the association, especially for Crowley, of thunder over lake is that the fire is burning up the water. Yeah, there's a strong antagonistic relationship between the lake and the lightning seems to be winning. So, this is not as happy a card as it looks to me, according to Crowley. Yeah, here we have a risk to both action and passivity. Anything we do could be problematic. So we want to have awareness that can break down our habitual structures. Because it's our habitual ways of being in the world at this time which will perhaps be leading us to problematic situations. Yeah? We're asked to get a grip. Take a scalpel and slice off the rotting meat. Slice off the things that are no longer serving us. Get to the core. Some radical intervention is being called for. There's a conflict between our fiery and watery parts. And fiery, what are our fiery parts? Our fiery parts are our sexuality. Our fiery parts are our passion and that passionate creativity. Our fiery parts are also our uplifting and uplifted spiritual lives. The fire of Pentecost, if you're Christian, the Pentecost is a baptism by fire. It's a spiritual fire from above. Water, on the other hand, is our depth. The depth of our emotion. A creativity, but a different kind of creativity. It's our intuitive creativity. It's the creativity of the poet and the lyricist and all the watery arts. It's our psychic abilities and our personal, deep connection with the divine, as opposed to the fiery revelation of the divine from above. This is the deep inner connection with the divine. And you might be thinking, well, one is emotion, one is passion, but why are those in conflict? Why don't they support each other? Well, because they don't. Some might say passion, well, that's an emotion, but it's a different kind of emotion. I mean, we have emotional reactions to it, perhaps, but our passion is our libido, and the emotion is often what contains it or kills it. So, there is a tension, there is a conflict here within us, here at our response of this situation. We want to hold on to Jupiter here, because Jupiter is going to spring up in this spread a couple of times. But what seems to be the situation now is that we have some inner conflict between aspects of self. And we're called to, like I said, get a grip. Don't get lost in that conflict. Get a grip and clean house. Even if it requires surgery, clean house internally. You see I'm wearing amethyst, and for some people, amethyst is one of those psychic stones of doing some of that surgical work. I didn't wear it intentionally to come do this video, but there was a psychic draw to pulling that crystal out for myself for today. Something that my passionate mind wasn't really paying attention to. So, the passion is great, the emotions are great, they're in conflict. What are we going to do? We're going to get a grip. We're going to cleave off the parts that are not serving us, and we're going to give attention to what aspects of ourselves are in conflict. And do the work of resolving that. Which is interesting, because the next card is the Two of Coins. Oh, I'm sorry, the Two of Discs. And the subtitle of this one is Change. Now, living an intentional life, we know that the intentional life is a life of change. It's a life of evolution, of becoming the person who has the experiences we want to have. So this is a lovely card for a challenge. This card is associated with Jupiter in Capricorn. Can you see that? Let me see if I can point them out to you. Up here in the white, Jupiter is small, but it's not difficult to see. Capricorn, I think, is difficult to see. It's down here in the dark, below the lower Yin-Yang sign, or in Korean, Eum-Yang sign. Do you see that? So we have these wonderful disc shapes. We have these wonderful Yin-Yang, Eum-Yang shapes. We also have a snake creating a lemniscate around them, showing us eternity, cycles, the movement of time all together. And the joining as well, right? There's a joining and separation here between these two discs. Now Jupiter, if people have Jupiter in Capricorn, people say that they are conservative, but they're mature, and they are driven, and they have high confidence, which is a wonderful challenge for us to move in the direction of. Now, you might say conservative. I don't want to be conservative, but we're not talking about politically conservative here. We're talking about rationally conservative. Yeah, keeping our resources in check, not letting them spill out into the universe, keeping what we've got in check and maintaining that which that which we have, right? That's a conservative mindset. Now for me, Jupiter doesn't naturally reside in Capricorn, but I've realized I've been missing some parts of looking at astrology when working with the Thoth deck. Yeah? Jupiter in Capricorn. The way that I structure astrology and the tarot is different than the Golden Dawn. It's a structure that I learned from the beautiful, wonderful Christine Payne Towler, and it makes more sense to me. It's the associations of traditional decadence with triplicities, which means that Jupiter would be in two places. In the fiery section with with Sagittarius, and in the watery section with Pisces. Now we just had Jupiter in Pisces here in the Knight of Cups, right? So Jupiter belongs in both water signs and in fire signs, but here Jupiter is in an earth sign. What's up with that? Well, there's another thing to remember. Planets also have exaltations, they have falls, they have complements, and they have detriments, right? Now, Jupiter in Capricorn gives us two different falls. Yeah, it's the fall associated with the Leo decadent of Sagittarius, which could be associated with the Eight of Wands in the way I structure the tarot, which would be, Eight of Wands is movement, it's energy. So the fall would be a blockage of that, of a stagnation of that, right? Or it could be the Scorpio decadent of Pisces, which would also, it's very interesting. Both of these falls give us the fixed aspect of a mutable sign. So Leo of Sagittarius is the fixed aspect of mutable fire. Scorpio of Pisces is the fixed aspect of mutable water. And that would be associated with, for me, the Eight of Cups, which is, in its fall, an inability to heal. An inability to take advantage of the flowing, beautiful, magnificent waters of the psyche. Because it's in the fall instead of an exaltation, yeah? So here we just had wonderful stuff of mature, driven, high confidence, but there's a stoppage of energy, both of fire and water energy here as well. Now Crowley says the good fortune of Jupiter here is limited. Jupiter aligning with the wheel change but within existing limits, because Jupiter is now in the house that would naturally belong to Saturn. Saturn is domiciled within Capricorn. So Jupiter enters Saturn's house and is limited, isn't able to do that beautiful, wonderful, good fortune and expansion that Jupiter likes to do. So there's a limitation here. And also mentioned with the limited energy that is here and the limited emotion that is here. And yet, this card allows us to unite elements that may have been opposite. Could be people, could be expectations or aims, or it could be being able to unite the fire and the water here. Yeah? And change develops in harmony with the present situation, including its constraints and its opportunities. So I think the positive challenge here is to recognize that we may have, with that fall of both of Jupiter in Capricorn through the Eight of Cups and the Eight of Wands, we might have we might be experiencing an obstacle of lack of energy, but that lack of energy could be because of conflict, because of the fire and water here, right? And so we want to find a way to unite those, to take advantage of those two things that appear to be diametrically opposed, and yet we can bring them together in the Eum-Yang in Korean or Yin-Yang in westernized Chinese, and create something new. And flow with the change of the lemniscate around the two orbs in harmony with what is now. Change can sometimes be a complete radical shift, right? But that's not what this is calling for. This is calling for change within the constraints and within the situation that already exists. And it's opportunities that are already here and may be more clearly realized if we can find a way to bring the passion and the emotion together, to bring our fire and water together into a different kind of energetic power. And so what is the next card? The next card is the Princess of Cups. Beautiful card. The swan there is a nod to beauty. Do you see the swan above her head? She's holding a turtle, which is a little bit of emotional protection. So that swan of beauty reminds me of the peacock in the Knight of Cups. The turtle of protection, emotional protection, reminds me of the crab in the Knight of Cups. Now, do you see the fish? The fish that's right here? According to the sources I've seen, that is supposed to be a dolphin, and I'm not even going to go there because that does not look like a dolphin to me. It looks like some odd tuna fish. I don't know. But anyways, so we have this beautiful, beautiful card here. The Princess of Cups is associated with hexagram 41, which is Sun, and it's mountain over marsh, which you'd think is perhaps unsustainable. And in a sense, it is a little unsustainable because the water starts to dissolve the solidity of the mountain. And that can be a good thing. Yeah? Because here, something can be lost, but something else can be gained. We lose something, and in that losing, we have room to receive the new, or the different at least. Yeah? So here we're called to look at the bigger picture. The advice is to look at the big picture, combining our passions and reducing them into their simplest structure. We want to do the crystallization of our passions and emotions into its essence, into its diamond sutra. Reminding me of the lotus here for Lotus Sutra, and that's for you to deal with. Just things that are just popping into my mind and they're flapping out of my mouth. So combining our passions, reducing them to their simplest structures. She lives in a world of romance, though. She is romantic. She dreams of rapture. And she is the eternal putting together of she's the eternal putter together of things. Just like we reduced our passions to their crystalline essence, she puts things together. She dissolves. It's alchemy. Yeah? Dissolvo coagula. She does all of that. Being earth of water. She dissolves it and then she brings it together. That's what we're called to do. That's the advice for us. And we had a very alchemical bit of advice challenge in the last video. In the last video of this Back to Basics series. The alchemy was the lover's card. Yeah? So here the advice is a different kind of, or a different way of looking at alchemy. Of the dissolve and coagulate. My Latin's gone. Yeah? That's what we can do to help do take care of this challenge of combining things that seem to be in conflict here. Right? That flows, doesn't it? It tracks. Now we have 2 cards from the Oracle deck to look at. And, well, here they are. Friends, you just saw, from left to right, we had 2 cards, secrets and publicity. They don't seem to be very copacetic together, do they? Yeah? Reminds me of, what is the first thing that comes to mind is secrets being revealed, right? Or celebrities getting captured by the paparazzi. Those are things that pop into my mind when I see those 2 titles together. But that's not the direction I think we're really going in. Let's start off with this secrets card. It's a very interesting card. Yeah. I don't know if you can see that we have Virgo in Scorpio here. Yeah. Here's Virgo down here and Scorpio down there. And again, for me, Virgo in Scorpio is not a natural match. However, very interestingly, Virgo in Scorpio gives us both a detriment and a complement. The detriment, Virgo in Scorpio is the detriment in Virgo's decadent of Taurus, which could be associated with the 4 of discs. Yeah, which is a very stable card, right? It's in the Crowley deck, it's the card of power, of the 4 elements combined. Yeah, it can also be stability of resources. But the detriment would be an instability, right? A blockage of that. However, the complement is Aquarius in Libra. Now, which would be associated with the 2 of Swords, which would be balancing ideas, making decisions, making choices, which kind of recalls that call to take a scalpel and cut away the detritus in the Knight of Cups, right? Now, in the image, we see here a ram-headed sphinx, which calls to mind Mars, which is naturally domiciled in Scorpio. And the ram-headed sphinx is a reminder of deep secrets of the past, right? And around the sphinx there are knots, there are glyphs, there are keys, which remind us of there being many, many mysteries. Yeah? There are not where are the keys? I see glyphs and I see knots. The book says there are keys, and if you can see keys in this card, let me know in the comments below. I don't see keys. But anyways, what is this card pointing to? It's pointing to our emotional reactions and desires intensifying. Yeah? Both our emotions and our desires, which are kind of that conflict of passion and emotion pointed towards in the Knight of Cups, right? Yeah, and those are intensified. But they're also held within. They're pent up. And it could even be pent up sexual energy, but they're pent up energy, which could be directed into creative pursuits. That energy, which is right now stuck within, can flow into creative pursuits right now, if we allow a path for it to come out. Interestingly, the guidebook also says loved ones are idealized, and we'll easily allow ourselves to make sacrifices for them. And to that I say, okay. I'm not really sure that is relevant to this reading, but if it means something to you, I put it out there. We might have an interest in our inner mysteries, the occult. And as we look within, we want to recognize those deep secrets that are held within, that are hidden or that may be hidden from us. Okay, so we might be holding secrets within us, but there could be secrets out there that are not being shown to us. Both of those are possible in this card. So what are we supposed to do? We start off with, we want to check in with our emotions and look for those pent-up energies that can be directed creatively out there in some kind of manifestation. We want to be aware of that which we are holding within and recognize that holding it in is not necessarily going to be of benefit to us now. We want to let it flow creatively. We want to let it flow with beauty. And in the Aquarius decadent of Libra, of the fixed aspect of cardinal air, where we direct our innovative and progressive minds through our relationship and our ideas of beauty. Yeah? If we're holding in secrets, we want to be aware of them. But we also want to be aware that there might be things that we're not fully aware of out there in the world as well. People might be holding back from us. And so the card we're pairing with that is very interesting. It's the publicity card. And you can see here we have Jupiter in Leo, which is a natural fit for me. That's the Sagittarius decan of Leo, which gives us the, it gives us the mutable aspect of fixed fire. And again, we got Jupiter. Jupiter we had in Pisces, and then we had in Capricorn, and now we've got Jupiter in Leo. So there's a great possibility of expansion for us here, of good fortune, if we allow that Jupiter, those Jupiter attributes to flow in a way that is positive and is within the environment that we are existing in. Now the image here is an angel, which is publicity, spreading fame. And you can see the earth below the angel, below the angel's knee, has 4 colors giving us the 4 elements: earth, air, fire, water. So the guidebook for this card tells us that there's a need to put on an impressive show right now. And that's an inner need. We want to get some attention. And it's possible that we are thinking bigger than the people around us. And we might be feeling the need to step up and take charge. And that could be okay. That could be okay if we do the work that we were talking about, right? Socializing can be good for us now, but taking on a creative project could be better. So here we have another indication of directing our energy creatively in some way. And that creative project could be anything. It could be something that we would traditionally consider to be art or artistic, like painting, sculpting, singing, creating music in some way, creating performances in some way. But it could also be creative in the sense of creating a beautiful place to live, creating a beautiful or efficient place to work, creating a project at work, creating a PowerPoint presentation if that's one of the things you do. Yeah, could be creative in creating food, anything, but directing that energy into something creative. And looking for opportunities to encourage and foster those around us is also of benefit right now, perhaps younger people, without becoming a pushy stage mother. Whether we are male stage mothers, female stage mothers, non-binary stage mothers, you know the traditional image of the stage mother of pushing your child out onto the stage. We don't want to be that kind of fosterer of or encourager of other people. Not toxic encouragement, but rather gentle encouragement. That's what's called for in this card. So right now, it's okay to blow our own horn, and it's okay to become a leader, and it's okay to encourage other people to shine. That would be wonderful. All of those would be wonderful for us right now. Doing the work of alchemy that was called for in those 3 cards. And I think these 2 cards together give us advice. In addition to the Princess of Cups, which gave us the advice of looking at the bigger picture, doing the alchemy of combining disparate elements into something beautiful and new, into something crystallized like a diamond. Putting stuff together. Here, as we do that, we want to reflect within. Check out the secrets that we're hiding within. And maybe within those secrets there be gold there, something that we can use. We want to channel in this card as well as this card. We want to channel that energy that is within, as Adler would say, our libido, not the Freudian libido, but the Adlerian libido of psychic energy. Not psychic energy so much as like channeling or telekinesis psychic energy, but the energy of our psyches. Channeling that psychic energy into something creative, something that manifests and becomes. And allowing ourselves to stand out and stand above and not take charge, but allow ourselves to be leaders in those areas where we can shine, and supporting those around us and helping those perhaps even younger people to shine as well, without pushing them into things that are uncomfortable in a very toxic way. Does that make sense? I hope it does. I hope this makes sense to you. It makes sense to me. And if it does make sense to you, let me know in the comments below. If it does not make sense to you, let me know in the comments below. Let's see if we can clear it up together. And friends, if you want a reading from me, my email address is below, thehangedmaninthemoon@gmail.com. Shoot me an email, we'll get you a reading. Thank you, friends. Thank you very much. For all of those who have already hit that thumbs up button, thank you. For all of you who have already subscribed, thank you. You are a blessing, and I greatly appreciate you. So here we are at the end. Friends, now, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.